Welcome to episode 135 of Project Geekology. I am one of your hosts, Anthony, and this week we are going to be covering Prometheus and Bob. Yeah, you thought this was going to be an Aliens podcast? No, we are covering Prometheus and Bob from Kablam. We are going to spend the next hour and a half, however long this podcast is, talking about a very small portion of a small show. And just kidding. We're actually going to be covering Prometheus, which, I mean, to some people is not part of the alien universe. So was I wrong when I said y'all thought this was a podcast, alien podcast? But yes, joining me as always is
Dakota. I promise you, folks, I didn't know where he was going with that until he said "and Bob." I will say the Prometheus and Bob shorts from Kablam are some of my favorite. Some of my favorite things I watched as a kid, and there weren't enough of them. I think they numbered into the actual shorts had numbers on them, where basically Prometheus was this extremely smart alien with this incredibly stupid caveman, and it was a claymation short, and the whole point of Prometheus and Bob was Prometheus had some incredible scheme or test or something, and Bob would ruin it somehow just by being present. And they numbered into the hundreds, if I remember correctly. Like they would be like Prometheus and Bob, tape number 385 or something. But really, there was only like a handful of them. I think there was less than 20 shorts that were produced. And I wish there were more. Just it's such a good little concept. And yeah, anyway, Prometheus. It's an alien movie. Guys, there's aliens in this. Don't let anyone on this podcast fool you. There are aliens. There's robots. There are protagonists that have the spelling ELL at the beginning of their name. There's a company called Wayland Corporation. There's there's engineers. Come on, engineers. Anyway, I'm the second host of the podcast, Dakota, and I'm joined, as always, with
Disgruntled Rich.
Disgruntled Rich. Here he comes. Why are you disgruntled, Rich?
I think that Prometheus and Bob honestly sounds like it might be more connected to the damn franchise than what we're about to talk about tonight. All right. Honestly, it's robot, Ridley Scott, and that's about it. All right. I'm going to be haunted, gentle viewers, dear viewers, by the visage of one of the engineers that is constantly in my eye holes because Anthony used it as a background. It is a haunting image
of an engineer smiling. It's clearly the actor just like breaking character for a moment. It breaks into the uncanny valley of just like it's a bizarre thing to look at, but also charming.
It's like the time that I was going through a toll booth and I saw a very serious clown just on his way to his next job. And it's a weird thing to see, man. You know, like you usually see them happy and bouncing, not sitting at a toll waiting to throw some quarters in.
It's a real job, Jim. It's a real job, Rich.
It's like you just went to Bones from Star Trek. Damn it, Jim! I'm a doctor.
It's funny enough you say that. The music in this movie reminded me of Star Trek for some reason. There was like some hopeful glints and of like adventure and journeying across the stars that was like present in the soundtrack that made me feel like this is a Star Trek story in some ways. It obviously isn't, but you know, it had that feel briefly, at least in the first half.
Well,
listen, what I will say, listeners, is Prometheus has gone through several iterations of fan dialogue. When it first came out, it was generally panned by viewers, but by critics, it was raved. So it was one of those situations. Critics loved it. Fans didn't know what to think of it because it changes the genetic history of the xenomorph creature to some extent. And it doesn't exactly explain how or why, you know, all of this is happening in this movie, but it definitely changes the origins of not just xenomorphs, but also humanity. So it connects everything in this big black goo situation. And a lot of people didn't know what to make of that. But recently it is, you know, kind of like seen some resurgence as kind of like a cult classic within the franchise, just because there's clear vision here. It's made by a very competent director. It goes back to the classic body horror roots of the Alien franchise. It has the DNA of the first Alien film, and it's directed by Ridley Scott. So, you know, it is what it is. But we'll talk about all of our misgivings, all the things we liked about it, and everything else, and why Rich doesn't believe this is an Alien film more. But for now, Anthony, like whenever you like leave the frame, like that image just pops up, and it's a jump scare. It's an actual jump scare. Anyway,
just think of me smiling, you know.
I'm gonna think of you smiling over there while you leave the frame. Anthony, we'll start with you so you can get that face out of my screen. What have you been up to this past week?
What have I been up to?
I don't know.
Nothing much really. Just gaming. Actually, tomorrow, as of recording, is gonna be, and I know, you and Rich are, you know, kind of whatever on it, but for those of our listeners that enjoy it, campaign 4 of Critical Role starts tomorrow. So, yeah,
that's actually very cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that, and Matt Mercer, who is usually the DM he was the DM for the first 3 campaigns, is actually going to be a player character in this one, and a DM that's usually over on Dimension 20. It's like another like platform. He's going to be DMing, because he had come over and done a DMing for a few events for Critical Role, so now he's going to be a full-time DM for this campaign. So it's going to be pretty cool. The dynamic is going to be different. So I'm pretty stoked to see that. But yeah, so yeah, nothing much for me. Just gaming. Watch something pop up into my head like 30 minutes later into the podcast.
Every time.
What have you been up to, Rich?
Let's see. I finally got my hands on Mario Odyssey. I actually got a physical copy, which I was very happy about, because one day when my internet went down in my house, I was very aghast to find out that I wasn't able to play many of my games, partly because I share games on my son's PS5, and they're kind of saved there. You know, there are just other things on even the Switch system that I wasn't able to play if I didn't have like the game card shared or whatever with their internet access. So I started playing it, and I'm really excited. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. I wanted an N64, Mario 64 kind of throwback with just kind of better graphics, and I got exactly what I wanted. The only problem is that the backlight on my TV has started to go out. So luckily Columbus Day is coming up. So it looks like I'll be in the hunt for that. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be very upset to hear that baseball season has ended for me, because the New York Metropolitans are one of the most inefficient and embarrassing franchises to be a fan of. And yes, I did get full season tickets for next year. And no, I didn't cancel them.
Well, I'm happy that you didn't cancel your tickets. Thankfully, one of the New York teams is in the playoffs currently.
Maybe not for long, friend.
Maybe not for
long. By
long.
the time people listen to this, it could be way over.
Yeah, you know what? They're playing right now, and I think they're tied, last I checked.
Yep.
With the Red Sox. I know Anthony would love if the Red Sox won, because he's got some ties to some. He's got some Boston roots somewhere.
Yeah. You know, I have family members from Boston.
Don't you have a signed copy of Good Will Hunting by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck?
How did he do that so
This is a visual. The visual response is that Anthony immediately put up a background of the Boston Red Sox.
So, I love it. Okay.
You know what, guys? Listen, this is the greatest development ever, right? We finally got to the point where we got Anthony to jump into the baseball conversation. So it took all season, 162 games.
Even if it just meant he was going to put on his colors.
Yeah.
You know, like that's it. I appreciate
that. You know, I just do it. I just do it to like mess around. I
Yeah.
always like to mess around with Rich, like, hey, look, man, this game is happening. When they were playing when the Mets were playing the Marlins.
I was fooled into thinking that you might go to the stadium for a bit. So
yeah,
another day.
Bro, I'm not driving an hour and a half to go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts. But that's cool. You got you're geared up to play some Mario Odyssey.
Oh, let's not get into this again, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just say it's Luigi's brother. Can we agree that's Luigi's brother is Odyssey?
How fares the mayor?
Yeah, I always pronounce it Luigi.
How do you say the guy's name who's in opposition to our lead plumber?
We call him Wario.
It's Wario, yeah.
Yeah, I call him Wario.
Do you call it Wario?
I call him Wario.
Wario, okay.
Wario.
All right.
So we go from Wario to Mario.
Very good.
This is a battle that will never end, ladies and gentlemen. We probably should start with Prometheus over here. Let's start off with the cast, because this is something I can be positive about. I did like the casting. I was surprised to see Charlize Theron. I didn't know that. I have been forced into being put in the dark by these two gentlemen here. So for these movies, I've shackled myself. I am not watching. I'm not doing any research. I'm not reading anything. I'm just putting the movie on. So I have no idea what to expect. I was shocked. Michael Fassbender's in this. For some reason, he likes riding on a bicycle and shooting a basketball at the same time. I guess we'll talk about that later. But I can say the casting, I thought was delightful.
I 100% agree with you. Idris Elba's in it randomly. Benedict Wong. We got some pretty big names. I think a lot of them are bigger names now. But yeah, I do really like the casting in this movie, and I'm pleased that you did as well. I'm curious if you guys thought that the basketball scene had any reference to Resurrection and that basketball scene.
Oh, I mean, I just thought it was weird because of the fact that obviously he's a little more, whatever, advanced or no, wait, this is beforehand. So if you look at the robot from the first movie, right, there doesn't seem to be any kind of pleasure seeking or need to exercise, right? Like it doesn't seem like that's the case. So I was a little put off by that. I mean, now that you mentioned the basketball scene, it does make a little bit of sense.
Because Ripley does have a scene in that movie where she throws the ball behind her and it goes in the hoop without her looking. Fassbender does that on the bicycle without looking, over the head. And so it might be a small nod to, the shared history of this crazy universe. I don't necessarily think... I highly doubt Ridley Scott enjoys Alien Resurrection. Seeing where his movie was taken in just 3 simple sequels probably irks him. And that's probably why he, took the reins back for the next couple of movies. Because he did Covenant as well. So we're going to follow Ridley Scott into the next movie as well. So he kind of took the reins back with Prometheus and reground the story with almost a new origin. Well, it is a new origin for everything, like the whole galaxy perhaps. And not a lot of answers. Ridley Scott loves to do that. He loves to ask us a lot of questions, give us hints at answers, and there's more answers rather in this movie than there was in the original Alien, but there's still a lot of mystery left off by the end of this movie. But let's start with Michael Fassbender's David. Anthony, what are your thoughts on this robot as opposed to Ash or Bishop in the next one?
I guess maybe because of this being this is in the timeline. This is the first movie, right?
Yeah, this is the first movie.
Right. Okay, so obviously his android is dated. You can kind of tell that he's an android. It's not. He's very like robotic. You see it in his face. Michael Fassbender does a really good job at that. Like kind of devoid of emotion,
but trying to mimic emotion. Like he's trying to mimic emotion, which is pretty cool.
Right, but like it's very robotic, and you can tell. So I think he does a really good job with that. So yeah, no, I think I enjoyed it. I thought that he did a really good job.
And almost 30 years later, with Ash and Alien, they're a lot less perceptible. Like they've gotten to a point where you can't really tell that they're a robot unless you're like looking for it. And for whatever reason, when it comes to Aliens, 57 years after the original Alien, Bishop is a little bit more robotic. Perhaps, like stronger or faster or whatever than Ash or David. But the general vibe that Bishop gives us in that movie is more akin to David's. Like you can tell that, he is trying to speak like a very proper individual, Whereas, so I wonder if it's actually, Ash was supposed to be incognito. He was supposed to blend in with the rest of the crew. I think that might be just like his programming versus Bishop, who is meant like they're at that point in time, it's natural for them to have an android on or a synthetic on the ship for any of these types of missions. So he's not incognito. Like there's no reason to hide his stuff. And then by the time of Resurrection, 200 years later, you have the Autons, which is like another branch off of that, which are much more human. Like like you wouldn't even know. And they for all intents and purposes do have emotion. So it's a weird history that all stems back to David. What did we think of our archaeologists, Ellie and what's this other guy's name? It's a very normal name.
I can't recall his name at all.
Charlie. Yeah, it's your son's name.
I should have been like, hey, that's my son's name. But
wow.
So that's not something that happened, guys. And I don't really want you guys to continue to judge me just because I don't remember somebody's my son's name. You know what? Maybe that speaks to the film. Maybe that's not on me.
Actually, whenever I meet someone named Mike, which is like the most common name in America, and I know that that's my father's name, and I know that is the middle name of my father-in-law, my brother-in-law, and a bunch of people I know. That name will completely go over my head. I don't remember it. As soon as I like lose sight of that person, I don't remember that they are a Mike anymore. Like it's. So I get it. I do. So Charlie and Ellie. I did think it was kind of fitting-ish, or kind of like a nod, that instead of Ellen, it's Ellie as the protagonist, the main female protagonist. Even though Ridley Scott didn't name the character of Ellen Ripley, because for whatever reason he only gave us her last name. But anyway, so
yeah, he's just
Ellie.
Ripley.
Just Ripley. Just ripping new ones.
She does have like a Ripley moment though, man. Like she's just like she has an alien inside her at one point. Dude,
that was a creepy scene.
That was a creepy scene, and it was like a squid.
Yeah, it was completely. There's so much in this movie.
When I saw that, like I was just like, I got the immediate connection to the rest of the Alien movies.
It was almost like, okay, like I'm gonna address that scene. It's literally like they put in like 7 things and they're like, this will make it an Alien movie. All right, and I won't lie, that was a pretty cool scene, and I honestly felt there was a part of me that was like, she's going to get attacked again before she gets out. Like I almost thought she wasn't gonna get away for half a second, so they got me. It was good. All right, and it was pretty pretty tough of her to go and have it extracted herself. I won't lie, but I felt like that somebody watched, they did like a test audience and they're like, there's no alien in somebody, and they're like, all right, let's go back and write it in, like Ridley Scott's like, we're gonna do that old thing again, fine, fan service.
I don't know if
it was tough though.
It
was definitely a tough scene.
I do think that was baked into the story, like from the get-go, because it does come back to attack her at the end of the film and eventually kind of becomes her savior. And then obviously the baby, whatever you want to call it, kind of becomes this gigantic face hugger by the end of the movie and impregnates the engineer with a proto-xenomorph, actually. And the production notes, they call it deacon, just because it has like the head shape of like a Catholic deacon. So that's what they call that. But it was very xenomorph-esque. And it almost kind of looked like the Alien 3 one when that first popped out. So there was a xenomorph. It might not have been like the xenomorph, but it was there. It's definitely there.
In the very end.
So, okay, let's see. It was a rather long movie. Can one of you describe, so what is the new origin of the xenomorphs?
I've been mapping it.
Okay.
All right. With Prometheus, we are not on LV-426, which is the planet in Alien and Aliens, first and foremost. So that is a different ship that those humans encounter. That is a different engineer. That is a different cargo. The cargo being those alien pods. On this planet, LV-426, or LV-223, that's the planet in Prometheus. And going back even further, we have the beginning scene of the black goo being absorbed by the engineer somewhere in Iceland. And he basically permeates the world with a primordial soup, basically engineering life on Earth. That then jumps, millions of years later. These dudes are, for whatever reason, trying to do something different with the black goo, because everything that happens in the movie past that point, the black goo has a different reaction to its, to the things around it. Instead of completely destroying the cellular structure of the things, it's mutating and changing them into weaponized features. So you'll notice that there were worms inside that room with all those vases, and they turned into, there's a term for it. They call them hammerpedes because they kind of have a hammerhead type shape. So the worms turned into hammerpedes that, attacked. And the same goes for the black goo going into Charlie, who then impregnates Ellie, who then gives birth to that monster that, is almost like squid-like, who then goes into the engineer, who then gives birth to a different variant of the xenomorph. It's almost like a proto-xenomorph structure. So your question being, is this the new origin of xenomorphs in the galaxy? I don't think so. I think this is just a variant that evolved completely differently, because the likelihood that they would have had a human impregnate another human to give birth to that, to then do that, and then, burst out of a engineer is just completely unique to this movie. So, but I do believe that the new intent of what Ridley Scott is suggesting is that the black goo did permeate life for the xenomorphs. And the xenomorphs are basically an engineered weapon that who knows how long they've been around, because the engineers have been around for thousands of years, so it's kind of hard to say. So I don't think that there's a direct lineage from Prometheus to Alien, besides, the time difference. I don't think any of those, I don't think that Deacon xenomorph made it over to LV-426 and seeded all those pods. I think that's a completely different branch of that creature's history. Does that make sense? Does that answer some questions?
Yeah, it actually does. I was a little, because I was kind of, I was kind of used to what we had seen, so I kind of went into it. I don't want to say taken for granted, but I just assumed what I knew what I know, you know?
Yeah. Anthony?
Something that I noticed about this film, and it's similar to the original, is the pacing. You know, it's a bit of a slow burn.
Mm-hmm.
It's not action right away, just like the original. The original, there was that gradual build up until you got the xenomorph, and you know, even then, like when we got the xenomorph, like really got the xenomorph, it was like in very small portions. So this was kind of like that same thing. You know, they get there, something kind of happens, but like you don't always get the action. You know, it's not until later on where you started to see what exactly was going on.
Yeah, I like that. And again, it feels it's very much a Ridley Scott movie, and he kind of wanted that feel of Alien. You know, it's a lot less gritty and dark. So the first film was definitely like truckers in space encounter something that they couldn't deal with. This movie is more scientific and archaeological, and yeah, I thought the premise of this one was very cool. But going back to what Rich's misgivings with the movie, like you felt you had some understanding of the creature, the xenomorph, up until this movie, and that kind of upended how you feel about them as this ancient race of evolution, I guess, and they definitely are an evolutionary creature because they evolve with their hosts and everything, but it's not the same as something that's evolved over millions of years by itself to become the perfect weapon, and I think that's what everyone thought up until this movie came out. And now that's why like a lot of people had some serious misgivings, like maybe they shouldn't have given us the origin of this creature because that ruins some of the mystique that's inherent in the story and kind of makes them less scary in a way. I mean, it doesn't make them less scary, but knowing more about your enemy makes them inherently less terrifying just because, you have some background on what they are, what they're capable of, where they're coming and where they're going, So, yeah, so I get that. I get why you feel... I mean, do you feel like you've been gypped a little bit with this storyline?
Yeah, because I always kind of believed that they were like the Brood from the X-Men. Like I was expecting to at some point go to a Brood planet and
that's why I kind of like a couple episodes ago I was kind of like wary to say yes or no to that just because but yeah.
I anticipated like going to at some point we end up on the xenomorph planet.
Yeah.
And there's just like, I don't know, a crazy cast of characters on a suicide mission to Xenomorph Planet to gather data or something. Like I was waiting for...
to kill the queen of all queens.
I was waiting for some crazy flame-throwing like crazy flamethrowers. Like
Queenimus Prime.
Yeah, like, drilling down, just them swarming in the dirt. Like I had so many ideas. And this movie just went in such a completely different direction and changed, I thought, the lore, the canon of their...
Pretty dramatically. It's a huge monkey wrench in a lot of people's understanding of this franchise. Are you, Anthony, like of the same mindset? Does this before you had seen this movie, did you feel a different way about the alien species, the xenomorphs, and does this movie negatively impact your understanding of them?
So I feel like because we get the introduction of the engineers, right? And I feel like any like humanoid or human aspects to the xenomorphs make a little bit more sense just because like technically humanity and the xenomorphs are like made by the same beings,
Right.
So for me, it gave them a little bit more of a connection. And I guess like also it also gives it a reason why the aliens were probably so willing and or the xenomorphs were so willing and easy to just attack humans in the original quadrilogy, is that somewhere down in their lineage they did have some sort of interaction with humans.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. Actually, I'm gonna pause the not the podcast, but like I have a question because you guys watched Alien versus Predator last week, right, or the week before. There's almost like an archaeological element to that first movie, like where they're digging for clues about this. I'm assuming the alien race, right? The xenomorphs. Mm-hmm. And I don't know do you feel like, because it's been a while since I've seen that movie, but I got the same vibe from the presentation in that movie of like the xenomorphs' origins in Alien vs. Predator that I did in for like the presentation that Ellie and Charlie gave aboard the Prometheus ship, when they were saying everything about like the ancient histories of these worlds depict this in the stars and all that. Do you think there's any, like, not obviously like a canon link, but do you think that there was any like cross pollination of ideas here? Like, did Alien vs. Predator potentially influence this movie?
It's just such a trope, right? That the aliens built the pyramids type thing, right? Like,
right.
It's, yeah, like
actually, it was the Predators. It was the Predators
that's
temple,
right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But I do but I do see where you're going though, Dakota. And I do see that maybe that idea was kind of, like ancient civilizations always have some sort of temple,
Yeah. Rich, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
No, it does. It's such a common thing in movies and literature, I'd say, like this idea that, or conspiracy theorists, right? That the only way that any of these things could have been built was the intervention of some sort of advanced species that visits us every once in a while to push us along and, give us AI and iPhones and stuff. So it is similar, but I don't know if I'd go so far as to say that like it's intentionally done. I just think it's just an easy.
Could it have been influenced perhaps by the film?
I guess the question is, did Ridley Scott allow Predator versus Alien to influence him? And
you don't see that.
Not him. I don't. If it was a different director, I might say yeah, but maybe they kind of nudged it that way. I don't. It would be interesting because I did like the Predator backstory actually. For some reason, I thoroughly enjoyed that one.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about Ridley Scott, because around this time he was making a couple movies that were almost like they were religious in nature. So he made Prometheus, which is about meeting your creator, or creators plural. And then either just before or shortly after this, he made Exodus. I think it's Gods and Kings or something, Gods and Men or something. So he has this desire to. It's clearly a fascination with him, at least at this point in his career. The idea of there being higher powers at B. What did you guys think of the early pollination of Earth, essentially terraforming it and creating like the primordial soup that eventually became humanity, like and life on Earth? Like, what are your thoughts on that, and what do you think his message was there? Let's go to Anthony.
Yeah, like you said, like like he really went like the philosophical route in this one, and so I guess that narrative, it was a little odd, There are definitely some moments in this movie, and I don't know if it's because of like the pacing or because of how different it is from the rest of the series, that you get kind of taken out of the movie sometimes. And I feel like whenever it got to some stuff like this, it kind of took me out of the movie a little bit.
Because it was such a broad concept that
right.
I understand. Yeah, it's almost like so out there that it's like, hold on, you're telling a different story altogether now. Like, is that the gist of what you guys are saying?
Oh, you
Pretty
mean
much, yeah.
like a movie that's not Alien, right? Like he's making another movie, folks. He's making another movie. All right. No,
I mean, I don't begrudge him the idea of like choosing to, use the Alien franchise as a vessel for another story that he wants to tell. Like that's kind of like Star Wars being. You could tell a Star Wars story without showing a single lightsaber. And once upon a time that would have never been even a possibility, but we now live in that world. But yeah, I'm sorry, Rich. I cut you off a little bit.
No, I was just being antagonistic.
Yeah, everyone's got to be a villain at least once every podcast needs a villain.
Yeah.
That's basically what it boils down to. And today you're the villain. You're David, bro.
Yeah. Normally my role is just to mention the next part of the franchise that we're talking about and accidentally spoil everybody at home. But this time it's look, I agree with Anthony. The idea is okay, but I'm not interested in how Earth was formed. I guess that's what I like. That's not what I'm here for. Like I'm here for some juicy action, and this is how we know this is an Alien movie. We are 42 minutes into recording, give or take edits, ladies and gentlemen. And I will tell you something. This is the first mention of juice. We have not mentioned juicy aliens one time. If you go back, we must have said juicy like 17 times an episode. All right. We get to 42 minutes. Anthony, how do you feel about the lack of juice?
Well, honestly, to tell you the truth, Rich, I'm glad that you brought that up. I'm really, really glad that you brought up the severe lack of juice level. Because when I think of our reviews, I don't want them to lack juice. I want them to be xenomorph juicy, Like that scene that you're talking about in Alien vs. Predator where the juice like drips off and ends up in somebody's mouth.
The best.
Like we want that type of juicy.
This bit has gone on way too long. I can't believe this is like a staple for this stupid podcast.
So, please give us a 5-star juicy review. I love that we went from burgers to just like disgusting xenomorphs.
There is juice in this movie. Okay, we can't deny that there is juice in this movie. It doesn't come in the form of a xenomorph, even though it's a little slippery when it first emerges from the xenomorph at the end. But that's normal. Birth is messy, but there's a lot of juice in this movie. I mean, we immediately see a xenomorph drink his juice in the beginning of the movie. It's a little gross looking. It looks like it has some chia seeds in it. Weird, but juice, black juice. Anyway, when we go into that cave in LV-223, where all of the pillars are, as soon as they break the atmosphere seal, what do? They start juicing those things. They just start oozing juice. Like it's just juice everywhere. And by the time they come back to the scene, there's so much juice. It's like listen, the juice has turned the worms into hammerpedes. There's a lot going on in this movie. And not to mention that there's an alien xenomorph, or there's not a xenomorph, but a engineer head that becomes so juicy it literally pops. So
there is.
Do you feel like this movie explains why xenomorphs are so juicy?
Oh, no, that's a mystery that deserves to stay in the mystery bin.
It's like they're in the water, but not in the water. That's like they're just always dripping, like they just got out of the water.
I have a mystery, guys, that maybe you can help me solve.
Maybe
Idris Elba's character is, to my knowledge, just kind of a pilot, right?
He's just the captain.
And what expertise level does he have in recognizing virulent biochemical production planets?
Excellent point. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when that scene popped up, when he suddenly has like this answer to the question that actually is true in terms of like what's going on in the story as far as we know, where he basically says, these guys aren't your creators. They're here. I mean, maybe they are the creators, but they didn't call you here to say hello. They're going out and they're destroying. These are super weapons that they're creating, which is true. Yeah. Super so I don't know how he got that knowledge. He must have just pieced it, like it came to him in a dream, like this is like, we got to get out of here.
That one, and I'm look. I think by that point I'm kind of starting to nitpick a little bit, but it's just I think I was where like in another movie, like it's funny because if that's in like Alien Resurrection or which is the one I really like too. Like if that was an Alien 2, I just like hand wave it.
You let it slide.
No problem. Yeah. Because
there's a lot of hand waving that you can do with Aliens, the second movie, just because like they don't even give you an answer as to why they call them a xenomorph. Like, where did you come up with that term? Or in Alien 3, in the scripts, in the novelization, in the special edition, in the theatrical edition, they never explain how there were two facehuggers on their lifeboat shuttle leaving, but they're there. Anyway, sorry. So no, it's okay to nitpick. And I do think that was a poor line. Like it was just a strange bit of like, well, someone's gotta, tell the audience that these guys are evil, because it's kind of confusing at this point. Like, what's going on? Maybe they just like monsters. Who knows? So going back to my question about the purpose of this movie in terms of like, it almost is like someone told Ridley Scott, prepare to meet your maker. And Ridley Scott was like, that's a weird threat. Let's turn that into a movie. And they met their maker, and he's a bit of a jerk. He's just immediately tossing people around, just like ripping robot heads off of limbs and stuff. Not he specifically, the engineer, but like they as a plural collective are kind of jerks as far as we know.
Why?
And
why?
We don't know. They never explain that. It's one of those. It's another lingering mystery. But what I do like about this movie is that it gives you an out. As like, if you're a person of faith and you find that this is like almost sacrilegious to talk about, even though this is fiction, this is a fictional universe. You can make the creator whatever you want. It's your universe, whatever. But Ridley Scott gives you an out if you're uncomfortable with that, because there's the through line of Ellie wearing the cross, and basically the gist is Ellie starts to realize, like, well, hold on. If they created us, who created them? And that kind of ties back to the name of the movie, Prometheus. So Prometheus is an ancient Greek myth that a guy named Prometheus stole fire from the Titans, basically fire from the gods, and brought it to humanity. And because of that, he was plagued and disciplined very harshly. The premise here, or at least the parallel that I see with the story that we have in this movie, the Prometheus, even though that's the name of their shuttle, is also basically what happens with the engineers. So the engineers take the fire that they were given, and they, start giving life around the galaxy. It seems like what's happening. And then that fire, or, because they did that, they are disciplined or they are punished in some way. And that's why we see them, start to completely die off based on, what they started, So I think the point of this is that there are possibly bigger forces in the galaxy outside of the engineers, even though the engineers directly were the direct progenitors for humanity. There could be a larger cosmic presence in the galaxy, basically, that created them, who the engineers stole life from, and gave it to others. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what I'm choosing to believe, just because I think that that's kind of a cool concept.
Do we follow? So, is this our new canon, quote unquote, moving forward as we head into the Last Covenant or Ark of the Covenant, or what is it?
Alien Covenant.
Just Covenant.
Sorry.
Alien Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be.
Hey, listen, bring in you put in Indiana Jones, all right, and bring in some crystal skulls, and you might have yourself a good movie.
You might make yourself a stew.
There were aliens in Crystal Skull, right?
There were aliens in Crystal Skull,
and they looked kind of like xenomorph heads.
They do have the long heads. You're right.
Maybe that's the you know what? I think somebody mixed up the scripts. That's what happened. All right.
We can't give this guy an inch, man. He just keeps on going. What was I gonna say? You asked if this is the new canon. I don't really think that this changes the canon at all. Personally, I mean, it does. No, sorry, it definitely does add lore to the xenomorphs. It adds lore to the human side. It adds lore to the company Wayland Corporation, which has yet to brand alongside Yutani. So it's still the Wayland Corporation. It's not Wayland Yutani. But as far as the new canon, I don't think this is a branch. I think this is just another chapter in this timeline.
Because then, so Anthony, maybe you can answer this. So if this is before Aliens, why does the company in that movie not have or has it taken them this long to like try to get it again, the xenomorphs? Like, because they're trying to get them, right? In Aliens 1 and Aliens 2, the corporation or the company is trying to bring these back at all costs, right? But it's already been a thing. Like, did they somehow forget this happened? Did this never get transmitted back? Like, it seemed like the Ellie escapes, Riley number 2.
We'll have to figure out what happens to Ellie in the next one, because I actually have not watched Covenant, so I don't know what happens past this point. I know I've seen Romulus, which is the one after Covenant, but I haven't seen the next one, the next Ridley Scott film. So I can't answer that. I know that you asked Anthony specifically, but Anthony, do you have a better answer?
And he was talking about for the first movie where they're trying to go. I think that just I don't think that that's something that's explained.
They don't
like why it took so long. Well, I mean, because by the time, in this one there's just Wayland, not Wayland Yutani. Actually in the first one it's Wayland Yutani, and then they decide to throw the D in the end. But I think maybe at some point it was something that they wanted. They just didn't have the. I guess it just wasn't. They had to like figure out like where they were, because like Dakota said, like you don't get an explanation on why there's a xenomorph eggs on that derelict ship in the first one.
No, we have no idea.
So for all we know, that ship might have gone to this planet, that derelict ship at some point, and then found some eggs, took them aboard, and just that. I mean, I'm trying to think. Did they explain the derelict ship?
No, but I don't think that is connected to the xenomorph life that we saw grow on this planet here. The reason being is that
there's so much that's not explained that there's a possibility
sure,
that the
it's a
xenomorphs
possibility, yeah,
did evolve into the xenomorphs that we do have now. That
right.
They evolved, like you said, that we kind of got like a proto face hugger,
Yeah.
And then just maybe just down the line where it was evolved, the engineers evolving it into this kind of perfect killing machine. Because I think that they weren't they essentially created to take out the humans, I think?
They don't really say, and I don't think that necessarily the xenomorphs were created specifically to take out the humans, but the black that they were using was a form of bioweapon. That, at least that's what the humans in the movie understood it as a bioweapon that was going to be used on Earth. Like that ship was going to Earth next, basically. So my understanding of this ship that was, crash landed, or not crash landed, but had been docked on this planet LV-223 versus the one that was docked, or the one that had been, destroyed and crashed on LV-426 in the first Alien movie. They've both been basically fossilized for thousands of years. That's a line in the first movie where the captain, Dallas, he goes, looks like it's been here for a long time, fossilized, So I think that's been there, and the alien eggs have probably been there for thousands of years. So I think though the engineers had the black goo separately, and they were sending it to different places perhaps, and created the xenomorphs separately. And these are two different strains of xenomorphs. That's how I'm interpreting it. I don't think that the proto-xenomorph that was in this movie went to LV-426, but it's possible. I can't say that it's not possible,
Yeah, no, I don't think that version of the xenomorph did. But like you said, it was many years between this moment or the xenomorphs, I guess. I don't know. It could have, because how...
It's about 30 years between Prometheus and the first Alien.
In the first movie? Okay, so, I mean, like you said, or, I mean, something that's been very much so apparent throughout throughout each movie is that xenomorphs are different. And the reason why we got this xenomorph could have been because of the series, or that type of xenomorph in Prometheus was really the series of events that happened in this movie. Like the creature was in like a bunch of beings, so like taking on different aspects. So it got on some human aspects, and then it also got on like the engineer. So like it took on different, like they always take on, they're xenomorphs. They take on aspects of they're almost parasitic. They take on the aspects of their host, and
there is actually something in this movie that made me pause, because so we know that these engineers have been basically dead for 2,000 years or so, right? They've been dead for millennia, but their corpses show, they tell a story. And when that one guy, the guy who likes rocks or whatever, he goes and looks at one of the corpses, he says that the chest has been almost exploded open. That's basically a xenomorph, So thousands of years ago, there was a xenomorph that exploded out of a chest of that guy. Could that have potentially led to what happened on that other planet? Could that have eventually seeded another ship or whatever? I don't know.
But was the squid going to do the same thing?
Yes, but it
could have bursted out of her chest had she not extracted it.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely was going to burst. It was going to be a burster, but it would have definitely taken a different shape than the xenomorph. It didn't. It only became kind of a xenomorph after it went through an engineer. You know what I'm saying? So, because that goo didn't originally make a xenomorph with either Ellie or Charlie. It made that gigantic facehugger thing, that was like a squid almost. So, dude, we're talking in circles here. This movie's crazy. There's so much. There's also a mural in the background of that room, the vase room that has almost like the H.R. Geiger design of aliens in the background, So it's possible they worship these things. I don't know. It's a really bizarre movie. What did we think of the Peter Weyland, being aboard the Prometheus to extend his life by meeting his creator? What, Rich? Let's bring it over to you.
I mean, it reminded me a little bit of in the Wolverine movie where he
oh yeah,
right, the guy's trying to Yoshida is trying to live longer, and yeah, it kind of seems like a kindly old man, but really isn't, and kind of just desperate, and the little power play with him and Charlize Theron. I think that's his daughter or his granddaughter, a daughter, right?
Daughter, yeah.
Right, which the age gap is a little odd, but
crazier things have happened.
And it that worked for me. I actually that's one part of the movie that I didn't. It felt like it should be an Alien movie. Like it felt like it belonged to the franchise.
Yeah,
finally seeing,
because it's a different type of greed. It's not necessarily corporate greed. It wasn't like the company going to use this for their weapons division. This is just this guy wants to live forever.
Yeah, I mean
he wants to be king forever.
He'll do anything. He'll go to LLV 6767, whatever,
6767. What's up with kids in 6'7"? What is this?
Literally doesn't mean anything, but I'm not gonna lie to you. As a teacher who often has to count, or even as a track coach, going to count the kids on the bus, and there is a palatable excitement in the air when you're counting. And you're just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you're like 6, 7, and they're like 6, 7, and they just can't. And honestly, there's such a joy that they have doing it. That I even I put up a homework assignment and I made it due at 6:07, and they're like,
okay.
They're like, what time is it due? And one kid's like 6:07, and they're like, he did it on purpose, So
that's funny. That's funny.
It's fun.
Anthony, you mentioned something, basically like why it took them so long to, or maybe Rich, you asked, why it took the company so long to research for these things.
Yeah.
Technically, nobody in this movie saw what ended up coming out of the engineer. They were all long gone by the time a xenomorph showed up onto the scene. They just saw a big squid-like creature and a crazy engineer out of time, and
fair. I mean,
so it's how did they know that they were something that they would want to weaponize in the first one?
Well, that's a good question. And it's possible.
How would you know? They went there and they thought there were fossils.
So that could be answered in the next movie. That could be answered in Covenant. I don't know, but it also could be answered in Alien Earth, which I've only seen the first episode of. I've basically just kept away from it, kept out of the spoiler loop with that one. So in a couple of weeks' time we will have a little bit more information about. But hopefully a little bit more information about why the company even knows about these things to begin with. Because they did put Ash on board that ship so that they could rendezvous at that planet, LV-426, to take that creature home, basically, for the weapons division. That's something that's canonical. We don't know how they knew or why they waited 57 years after that to try again. But, yeah. So... crazy movie. I did like that Peter Whalen just got the lights knocked out of him. I don't know why. I just thought, that was just such a funny scene. This guy just I just woke up, leave me alone.
It was and the thing is it's ironic. This man came to this place to extend his life.
Immediately ended it.
Dude, seriously.
I did like, why am I calling him Brian? David. I did like David a lot. Obviously he was cruel and manipulative and did some weird stuff, drugging people's drinks and doing crazy tests on people, but he's got a weird charm. I
you
hope
can really let a lot go, man.
I can let a lot go with this one. This, I kind of like him. I hope we see him in the next one.
If he's not in this, and also his motivation,
his motivations were specifically to find something that would extend the life of Peter Whalen.
Why did he? Oh, was he just testing it out on? What's that guy's name? I can't remember it. It's such a forgettable name. Charlie. Yeah. Is that why he put it into Charlie's drink, just to test it out?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the alternative is he's just a cruel alien or android robot thing.
He gives me a what's the guy character Veet from what's I can't the man with Mr. Manhattan.
You're talking about the Watchmen.
Yeah, it's Veet or something like that. V-E
Ozymandias.
Yeah.
Veet is the company.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It just gives me he kind of gives me those vibes. Like he's very, very manipulative behind the scenes.
Guys, do we have anything else to say about Prometheus before we give our final thoughts on the movie?
I do want to know where you place it in your top MCU films.
I love this bit.
I don't know if it cracks my top 3, but maybe top 5 MCU movies, you know? Right behind Love and Thunder.
I still like that movie a little bit. I won't lie.
You know, I think that Prometheus, you know, it's an interesting movie. I mean, you can still see a bit of the connection to the alien universe, but it really does get deep into like the religious and kind of philosophical aspects. Maybe a little bit too much for me, and you know, it's those moments that kind of pull me out of the film. But I mean, dude, at least Ridley Scott is consistent because it feels like a Ridley Scott movie. And, you know, the pacing and everything is there. So, you know, it's not, you know, I don't, it's definitely nowhere near it. Like, I wouldn't even call it's not a bad movie. Resurrection is a bad movie. This is a good movie. It's just a different type of good.
Yeah, it's almost, it's so pensive and esoteric, I guess. And it asks so many questions and is perhaps too big for its britches. You know, it's probably trying to answer too much in one movie. But I do like it, you know? I think it's probably... I don't know if I like Alien or Aliens more. They're probably equal for me. And I would say that this is right behind both of those. So I would say it's probably number 3 in my ranking so far. But 5th in MCU rankings.
Apologies, my ranking.
Yeah, I want to hear your ranking, actually. Let's do this.
So let's see, how many have we watched? 5?
This is 5 now.
I'm gonna give the list and the audience another little another little treat. Out of 5, 6, 7, I don't know. We're gonna have to see the next one. All right, because right now it is. I don't think our audience is gonna understand that. I like Resurrection more than I like this movie.
No way.
That is, you know, crazy. It's an opinion, but it's a wild one.
You know what?
It is
valid.
Wild.
It's valid. It's wrong though.
I mean, I could be wrong.
It's wrong.
You know what it is? You guys.
Dude, they blew up a portion of Africa in the end of that one.
Okay, also...
It literally made no sense.
Okay, fine.
Nothing. At least, look, Prometheus, at least the stuff in Prometheus was, like, it was really philosophical, but at least it made sense. Nothing in Resurrection made sense at all.
All right.
Does it make sense that the engineers, right, who are more advanced than the human civilization, don't have a ship that can protect from another ship from Earth, these lowly ants crashing into it and destroying it?
I mean, that's kind of it's kind of
I
like
think it's based on necessity. Like, did they necessarily need a ship? Like,
we don't know. Yeah, we've never encountered any other spacefaring creatures or species, so it's possible, but. Maybe the engineer just hadn't turned on all the features of his like special ship, you know, like he was just getting ready to launch it out of atmosphere. He didn't turn on the shields yet.
Listen, I hope that all these questions that I have are answered when we find the Lost Ark. All right, like when we finally find the Lost Ark of the Covenant in the next movie, I think we will get some answers.
Look, at least you can rejoice in the fact that Ripley is back in the next movie.
I can't.
Well, she's already been resurrected. It's time to give her a covenant.
I mean, if you're gonna resurrect somebody, why would you just resurrect her from one movie? You got to bring it to another.
No, but what's cool about this one is that it's still a prequel, so it's I think it's only a decade before Alien.
Maybe. Oh, so we were arguing to see Riley. This is exciting because
it's 16 years before. No, 18 years before Alien. So she's very young, but yeah, she's alive.
Thank you guys. I'm very excited next week then to join you guys again to talk about the return of Riley. I mean Ripley.
Yeah, Riley is in Resurrection.
Yes.
Yep.
I forgot.
We haven't gotten to Riley. It's got to be was it 250 years?
Oh, it's a while.
Oh, guys, let's bring this podcast to a close. I enjoyed it. Anthony enjoyed it. Rich thinks it's worse than Resurrection, but you know what? That's still top 5. There's a possibility that it'll be higher than the next one.
Technically, it is top 5. I
right.
how you squeaked that one in based on technicality.
That's like,
guys,
that sounds
thank
like
you.
me being positive. If the kids are in a race of 5 kids and the kid comes in last, I'm like, well, listen, man, 5's pretty good, like out of 5, like you finished it, congratulations.
You don't get a trophy. You might get a ribbon. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to us here for our 135th episode of Project Geekology. Again, if you haven't given us a juicy review, we request, sir or madam, a 5-star juicy review. As juicy, if not more juicy, than that engineer head that just went kablooey. But anyway, guys, if you want to check out any of our socials, be sure to check down into our show notes for more. Follow us on Twitter, where we do most of our posting here. And yeah, bye, guys.
Bye.
The Wolverine.
Still collating.